Welcome back to Hannity. So earlier today, the first daughter and advisor to the president, Ivanka Trump, she hosted a town hall on tax reform in Pennsylvania. We need money back. I sat down with Ivanka Trump to discuss how the administration plans to move the tax proposal forward and pass it. Take a look. All right, joining us now, Ivanka Trump. Good to see you again. How are you?
Good to see you. I'm doing great.
So I walk in the door and you start making fun of me. I mean, this is a great way to start an interview.
Well, you know, somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, somebody's got to do it. So go ahead. You have an assistant.
Yes.
Or somebody that works for you in PR. And I did something. Go ahead. You can tell everybody. It's fine.
You tried to set her up. And we're almost successful. But what really excited me about this story is when I found out that you actually had a website where you were making matches.
Yes.
Because this is Jared and my secret talent. People don't realize it's our hidden skill. We're matchmakers.
You like to put people together.
7 marriages. 0 divorces, hopefully, wow. God willing, that continues, but 7 matches. So I was feeling really good about myself. I was excited to tell you that statistic and then found out that you literally have hundreds.
I have hundreds.
Like babies are being born named Kennedy.
I don't know why. I used to do these long book signings that would go on for hours. And when there was a cute couple come up, I'm like, well, how long have you been dating? They'd say 3 years. And I said, what are you waiting for? And the next thing, the girlfriend's always going, yes. And the guy's going like this. And I'd say, do it right now, and I get the crowd to say it, and a lot of guys would do it. So,
oh my gosh, you and Jared's always pushing people. He's like, you have all the facts. You have all the facts that you need to know. Yeah. Make the move. Make the moves.
Yeah, but a lot of people appreciate it, and they did get married. I even have a child named after me, and dogs. I have more dogs than children named after me. Probably a better name for a dog.
That's very funny.
All right, so it's almost a year since your dad won, and you've gotten involved in a lot of issues, but what you're really focused in now is what I think this election was about, and that is the forgotten men and women. And that's why this tax reform bill is probably his biggest and most important piece of legislation to bring about the economic success that he was running on.
Look, I feel, so privileged to have the opportunity to serve our country. And, you know, nothing about my life was designed to pick up and move to Washington, but I feel really blessed that he entrusted in me and empowered me to do this. But, you know, ultimately, it's about the amazing people of this country that I met over 2 years of campaigning, and the hardships I witnessed, the opportunity to remove barriers so that more people can experience some of the privileges that my family and I were so lucky to have. So, you know, this country gave us everything. It afforded us so many incredible opportunities. And my mission now, through job creation, through economic growth, is to empower as many Americans as I possibly can to realize those same opportunities. And this administration's doing it. We're doing it legislatively. Tax reform is so critical. We're doing it administratively, deregulation, really fueling entrepreneurship in this country. And you see it in terms of optimism. You see it in terms of the stock market. You see it in terms of the conversations you have. I'm here today in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and I would hear it in every conversation I had with the people through the course of the day and in the room. So that's what fuels us, and that's what we're fighting for.
You did a very good job of getting rid of burdensome regulation. It's something as a conservative I talk about all the time, because it puts so much pressure on businesses. They can't just go out and do their job. They have to work with the EPA. Then they have to work with this other agency. And not that we shouldn't take care of the environment. Of course, we've got to be good stewards of the environment.
And there is some good regulation, but it's gotten out of control.
Way out of control.
And things that somebody in Washington thought in principle was a good idea would have unintended consequences to millions of people. So there's a lot of bad regulation that didn't fulfill the stated goal, even if the intent was pure. So I think rolling back years, decades of layer upon layer of regulation is really freeing up business owners to invest in their businesses, invest in the people who work in their businesses. You see wage growth for the first time. And I think tax reform, is so core to our goal of fueling the economic growth of this country. We need to be competitive. We need a tax code that's reflective of the modern reality of what our workforce look like, including supporting our working families, the majority of which are now dual income, which is why I'm really excited about the realization of a large part of the administration's working family agenda through tax reform, the expansion of the child tax credit, doubling the standard deduction, eliminating the marriage penalty. There's so many critical elements that support our dual values of work and of family, but we need to be competitive, and ultimately we need growth, and that's going to come by ensuring that this is the country that everyone wants to grow their businesses in.
It's amazing your dad rightly said.
Yeah.
We have 1% GDP growth. That's worth $2.5 trillion to the Treasury. That's a lot of money. And the last administration was the first one never to reach 3% GDP growth in a year. I want to go back to the issue you brought up. You've been privileged, because I feel the same way in this sense. I grew up very middle class in America, dishwasher at 12, busboy, waiter, bartender, house painter, wallpaper hanger, tile layer, framer, roofer. I did it all. It was about 2 decades.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and I know.
It's a good list.
It's a pretty good list. But so I look at the economic plan and I'm like, okay, if we can get the factories and manufacturing centers built here, because corporations have lower taxes, because we have less regulation, it's a better environment. The repatriation of trillions from multinationals that would not bring it back here because they'll lose 40 or 50 cents on every dollar, and you make it 10 cents, they're going to spend a lot of money here.
And that's a bipartisan issue. Everyone's been talking for years about all this money that's parked off our shores that wants to come back into this country, and nobody's ever been able to do anything about it. So this tax plan fixes that and enables businesses to bring the money home, to invest in their infrastructure, their businesses right here, and invest in their workers. But to your point about being competitive, the reality is it's a global marketplace now, and we have to compete against other countries. And we are not competitive. We have the highest corporate tax of any country in the developed world. And that is something that very much gets factored into our pricing, very much gets factored into wages. That's why they've stagnated over the past several decades, and you just now are starting to see them rise. And I think a big part of that is the deregulation we were talking about before. But I believe with my heart and soul, and my father does, and this administration does, that no one can best the American worker. There is no group of people more innovative, more motivated, more capable. But there's got to be a level playing field, and there's not a level playing field. That is, we've got to level the playing field for the corporation, the small business, who's spending $16 billion a year to comply with a cumbersome tax code, to the individual. I mean, the reality is simplification of our tax code democratizes it.
It does.
You know, if you have a tax code that the average person can't understand, I know I can't. 94% of Americans require professional help to fill out their taxes. Who's that's going to benefit? It's going to benefit the person with an army of accountants and an army of lawyers who can help them find the loopholes and the nuance.
Ivanka, you can give the same factual information to 3 of the best accounting houses in America.
Yeah.
And they'll come up with a different tax liability.
Yep.
I mean, that's how complicated it is. And they're not cheating. They just...
And that was decades. Look, it was decades of lobbyists and special interest group who added a nuance here, a nuance there, a page here, an idea here. And part of the promise of this tax reform is cutting all of that out, simplifying it, democratizing it, and making it work for all Americans with a particular focus on middle-income America. And that is so important, and and what we're all fighting for.